Hello, friends, and welcome to your Daily Detroit on a warm Monday, May 9th, 2022. Coming to you from Detroit's North End studio, I'm Jairus Days, and across the table from me,
Fletcher Sharpe.
Good to see you, sir.
Likewise.
So we've got a lot of Detroit City FC news to talk about. There's some game day stuff that I think we really need to dive into. There was the Tulsa loss for the first time in a long time, 3-1 with a heavily rotated squad. It was difficult to watch, Fletcher.
I got the score right.
I wasn't going to say anything, man, but yeah,
other way around, unfortunately.
Yeah, you were half right, Fletcher. But
Tulsa, I'm not going to take anything away because when teams beat teams, like even if they're not a better team, like they won the game. So I'm not taking anything away to start immediately. What I will say is all of Tulsa's goals were as a result of just someone making a mistake and then them outworking Detroit. The first goal, Devin Amu-Mensah, who's currently my Black Arrow vote for the year, the MVP, missed a header defensively. The ball fell to the Tulsa player, who then rolled it to Joaquin Rivas, who cut into the box from the right side, cut in so violently that Stephen Carroll fell and left an opening, and then he slotted the ball back to the other corner, and Nate was just stuck, just couldn't move. Second goal, Lay Diop had a turnover. Ball fell in the box to Rivas again, who passed it into the box to J.J. Williams, who was being marked by Matt Lewis. And the ball was going to roll away from J.J. and Matt and just be done and go out. And J.J. threw himself to the ground through Matt, like literally threw himself down to tap his foot to roll the ball to an open Rodrigo da Costa, who slammed it to the net, left wide alone. Because I guess Detroit just thought the ball was going to roll somewhere else. And JJ said, I'm not letting that happen. I'm getting down in there. Just so outworked. The third goal, ball came into the box, bounced into the air. Everyone turned to watch, see where's the ball going to fall. And Rivas was there again to slam it into the net and seal it then. So just all three goals were just someone lost a sight of where the ball was, someone made a bad play, someone slipped, and then Tulsa outworked them to finish and put the ball into the net.
yeah, I mean, it just wasn't the same team on the field, quite literally. Before we get into that, though, I want to shout out and make a mention. Michael Bryant was really, to me, one of the few bright spots of the match.
Yeah, Carl we met being sent over on loan has been great for Michael Bryant because we get to see him in the midfield spot. And while they did not play well as a team, Michael Bryant had a really good overall game. He scored the only goal. It was off a nice corner kick. The ball got deflected up. He took one touch and slotted it into the lower left corner between the goalie and two defenders right into the corner. Really well-struck ball. Not too hard, but perfectly finessed right in there.
Could you say he stashed it?
You could. I won't, but you could. But he's been really great for them as of late, and I want to make sure he gets all the praise he deserves because he's been playing well. I know I was kind of critical when he first came because he was heralded as this midfielder from this other great NISA team that we were going to see, and he showed up in his first two games. We're like watching a baby horse on ice, and I was like, this is not good. Please don't put him out there. And from that point forward, he has been like, hey, I heard what you said, and you're wrong, and I'll happily eat crow. If Michael Bryant hears this, I was sorry before. I was wrong. You are currently killing it, and hopefully you can continue to do so for the team. But for the rest of the team, it was not good. There was no Pato, no Maxi, no Hopino, which was a little concerning considering that all three of those left the last game against New York Red Bulls 2 with injuries.
Do you think this is rest for Louisville, which we're going to talk about in a minute? Or do you think that there might be something more going on? What is your sense? Because to have all three out on a roster, to me, I feel like it would be something where maybe you sit Pato or you sit Rodriguez. You don't necessarily pull them out of the roster completely.
I think it's a bit more fatigue. I think everyone was tired. Everyone was very tired. I know Reese Williams, who had played well in the first half, I know he came out at halftime mainly just because of tired. Yeah, they have a U.S. Open Cup match coming up tomorrow against Louisville, and we met, and Mackie Jope cannot play because they are cup tied. Cup tied means that they played in a tournament for another team, so you cannot appear for a second team in said tournament. So even if you play in an opening round for some small club and you transfer to somewhere for $1 million, you're the best player in the world, but you can't play in that tournament anymore because you played that one game, even if it was only 1 minute for another team. So because they can't play, I think holding out specifically Pato and a few other players. I think holding them out was really more so they can, the other players can get some shine, get some run, kind of get their legs under them, and these players can rest and make sure they are able to come out and play a bit more. I'd like to think it's that. I'm going to assume it's probably more of that than say anything else. I know, again, probably a little bit of wear and tear from just them playing so many games in a row. The starting lineup did not change for almost a month and some change. Like, there was literally just the same 11, maybe one change with Dunwell going out to injury, but otherwise it was the same 11 almost every game, and most of them playing 90 minutes.
So you're not that worried about this loss long term?
I'm more so worried about anyone being hurt. More so worried about Matt Lewis, who left the game being helped off the field.
That was not pretty. I want to talk to you about that one too, because he is an important part of this team, and to see him go off like that, I had big Dunwell vibes.
Not even like just the fact that he was hurt, because injury is bad, but the fact that he's hurt in a position where we don't really have anyone to cover him. Our coverage for him is the aforementioned Michael Bryant, who's been playing great in the midfield. He can play center back if need be. We don't want to move him back if we don't have to, because him in the middle is helpful. And if say Maxi or Lay is out by chance, because Brad is still out for quite some time, if Maxi or Lay is out, we want to put Michael in there to do something. Right now we have two healthy center backs. Unless Matt Lewis makes a miraculous recovery, with two healthy center backs, Stephen Carroll and Devin Umensa. And Carl Ouimet is healthy, but he cannot play tomorrow. So for this game, they have two center backs, two wing backs entirely, potentially two midfielders unless Maxi feels better, which would be three. They have a very, very, very small lineup. And the people who can play, the brothers Tanyi, who both came on and looked very much their age against Tulsa. Ryan Shello, the backup keeper, who has not played a single minute at all. And you have Francis and you have Billy. And my problem with Francis is we were really hoping he'd turn a corner. And he still leads the league in shots. Like,
there were
shots per 90
misses.
minutes.
There were some misses against Tulsa.
Where I was some misses where I was like, I see what you're trying to do, but that's not in your toolkit, man. And like, that's no disrespect to him. Personally, I had a game this weekend where a ball rolled to my feet and I tried to turn from 20 yards out and just volley it into the net. And I hit it and the ball went straight into the sky and off the roof. And I was like, you know what? I was feeling myself. Thought I could do that. I just realized I don't have that in my toolkit. Someone's got to tell Francis, hey, man, maybe when you're on the left side of the field and there's someone wide open in the box, pass it. Just a little pass. Don't shoot it. Because that angle, mathematically, you're not going to if you put it in the net, it's going on Sports Center. That's to let you know, like, maybe just don't.
That leads me to talk about Louisville, because this is going to be one of three matchups against this team that is lighting up the standings. In fact, and I don't think this is going to be the case, but there are people on social media openly talking about, can Louisville pull off the perfect season? Because they have 0 losses. And I think this is going to be an interesting game to watch. There is going to be, I almost feel like we need to make 2 predictions. One, depending on who's starting, and then another in a worst case scenario. Because I can tell you this, if we don't have all 3 of Hopino, Pato, and Rodriguez, I think we're sunk tomorrow.
They might be sunk nonetheless, even with those 3. Matty Lewis being hurt, if he's truly hurt, is a problem.
And I've been watching the Louisville tape. They're monsters.
But if they don't have those 3, it's going to be issues. I mean, Louisville they're kind of like the Pistons back when the going to work Pistons, where like they made 7 straight appearances to Eastern Conference Finals. Maybe they only won the title once, been to the final twice, but they made those appearances. Louisville's been to the Eastern Conference Final of the USL Championship 7 or 8 years in a row.
This is a team that's well-oiled and knows how to win.
The team has been the same for quite some time, maybe a few changes. Hopino played with them for a little bit, but like the main faces have all been the same. They have many people on their roster who have over 100 caps, 100 appearances for their team. So like they're a very well-drilled team. They play the same way. They play fast. They play aggressive. They get into you. And they have those fans who will let you hear that, you're getting drilled. I know Detroit's played against them in the past. They lost to them in the U.S. Open Cup in PKs, which is fine. Totally okay. They gave it their all. This is not that, though. You're expected to come out here and try and do a little bit better. And I don't know. If I was a fan, I'd be very worried.
Let's play it out in 2 cases. One, let's say we have a healthy lineup, no scratches except Dunwell. What's your prediction?
2-1 Louisville.
And we have, let's say, 1 or 2 scratches.
3-1 Louisville.
Okay. You do not have much hope on this one.
No, I do not. And if you were going to ask me if they were missing all, remember, you ever see Space Jam?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like the scene where like the Monstars keep scoring and it's like ridiculous, isn't it? As the number keeps going up on the scoreboard. I was gonna say that if they were missing everybody, like just it's gonna
Okay,
be
if it's really going to be about who can make it on the field, who that starting 11 is really going to influence what this is going to be.
It's gonna be one of those times where, unless they take this training between Saturday's game and this game, and they're like, look in the mirror, we got to think about this. Okay, like we're done. That's over. We're done. We're gonna get our stuff together. We're gonna hunker down, do whatever, and we're gonna try to play hard against this game. Honestly, I'm okay if they lose. If I was a fan, I'd be okay if they lose because the U.S. Open Cup is great. It's a great, great tournament. One of my favorite tournaments. The problem with it is attrition. You need to have a decent sized roster. I'm not saying like 40, 50 people, but like maybe 27, 28 people. Having 18 for a tournament like this, where it's like you now are playing an extra game a week, put some extra miles on your legs. And unless you're the most well-drilled, in-shape team, you're going to need more than 17, 18 people.
We need more than 17 or 18 people for the rest of the season. Like, we're starting to get in a silly season with this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing I was talking about is...
But, I mean, that's part of resource constraints, right? Like, let's just be honest. If they're not signing the players for a reason.
Yeah, the thing I was talking about is like, you have, like, weeks where you don't have a game. Maybe you have a week or two where you don't have a game. If you're in the U.S. Open Cup, you have a game that week. And, like, the time you might be using for rest, it's cut down because you now have a game. When you might have had 7 days of rest, 6 days of rest, maybe 3 days of rest, 2 days of training, you now have a morning of rest and then a training, and then you're back on the field to play again. The only saving grace they have is the fact that it's a home game. They don't have to travel as much. So like they get to roll out of bed, go to Keyworth, and do the best they can. If this was an away game that they go to Louisville and play, oh my stars, they would maybe lose by more than 3 or 4. It would be
because Louisville fans are engaged. Like, Detroit fans are engaged. We know that. But Louisville is right up at that level.
Yeah. Everything that we talked about with Northern Guard and Detroit City FC and all the fans and connections, Louisville is just like that in a little bit bigger stadium. So, like, as loud as it can be at Keyworth, it can be just as loud at Louisville. Maybe the chants maybe aren't as innovative. Maybe the chants are, maybe a little bit more comical. But, like, the same intensity, similar numbers, if not more numbers. And when you get scored on, they let you know the same exact way that Detroit's fans do. I would count your stars that you are home and not away. Nonetheless, I don't think it changes very much. I don't know if Detroit has the firepower right now. They give up more than 2 goals for the first time all season in their 3-1 loss to Tulsa, which has been their mainstay. I've mentioned Matt Lewis many times, but it shows how important Matt Lewis, Stephen Carroll, Devin Mensah, and Nate Steinwasser are, because they went an entire season. This was their 10th game, I think. 10th game total, maybe 10th, 11th game total. First time ever giving up more than 2 goals. They gave up 3. It shows like they were winning games defensively. They were winning games like, hey, it's going to be a rock fight. We score 1 goal, you score 1 goal. Now we're just going to sit here and just chuck rocks at each other until someone makes contact. Or we scored a goal. Guess what? Perfect. Now we're going to keep the ball away from you so you can't do whatever. To see that them just get opened up by a lesser than team in Tulsa, and again, no disrespect to Tulsa. Tulsa won the game. They came out, they had a game plan they executed. But to see them get torn up like that against a team that's not that offensively gifted, they have some goal scorers, but they're not like Louisville. They're not like last year's Tampa Bay. They're not like Orange County. They're not out here just scoring goals for fun. It's worrisome because Louisville has Cameron Lancaster, and he will score goals for fun. And you really don't want to see them dancing in your box after heading in, 3 or 4 goals. It'll make you feel a type of way.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to this rivalry because I think it's going to be more important that they win those games in USL play, but with how far ahead Louisville is now running in the points, they're just stacking things up that I think that unless something cataclysmic happens, I think Louisville may have already sealed up the East.
I don't know about that yet. Tampa Bay is going to start catching on. I think they will catch on. I don't know if they're going to catch Louisville, but I think they will start catching on. To your point, though, Louisville plays LA Galaxy 2 next, Monterey Bay, FC Tulsa, and then the Rowdies. So I don't see them losing a game and maybe until the Rowdies. And then after that, they play at Orange County. And then they have a bunch of teams that they should beat. Hartford, Birmingham, Red Bull, Memphis 901, and then Phoenix Rising. So a bunch of teams in a row that, like, if they maybe draw those tough games, just keep stacking wins up and up and up and up. If they do it like that, if they reach maybe, say, July 30th and have not lost yet, all right, I think it's safe to say the East is probably theirs. Unless something catastrophic happens, like, I think at that point, okay, like, hat tip to you, we're all going for second.
Let's talk about Loudoun, because that's Saturday. And right now we're not planning to be back on the air talking soccer before then. And I think this is a match that we should win, assuming that we've got enough healthy players.
Yeah, so is Tulsa, but,
That's true. That's true. And that kind of shook me a little bit because I thought that basically our B team had a little bit more depth than that. What is the difference? Because they just looked disorganized during Tulsa, and I don't want to see that happen during Loudoun. They looked like they didn't know where they belonged to be.
I mean, I don't want to say B team because honestly, they don't even have enough people on their roster to have a B team. There's still some starters there, but honestly, it shows how important Maxi is to that midfield. It's kind of like watching an orchestra without the conductor, just some guy up there just pointing. And Maxi's been with the team for a few years, so he and Pato and Connor Rutz and the defensive line, say for Devin, they all know where to be and how to react to stuff. They all know how to keep the shape in the middle. They have someone who's very vocal. So no disrespect to Michael Bryant or Lay, but Lay is back after being away, and Michael Bryant is new to joining the team. So while he's still learning people and learning how to do stuff, they're very different players. They have very different styles of how they mesh with the team. And with Billy and Francis up top, both two new players as well, they're still trying to figure out their own things. They're just trying to figure out how to play and work things out for themselves. So you have a bunch of faces who might have played together in practice, might have done some other stuff together, but game time between them, you'll find will be very sparse.
Are you concerned?
We'll see. If they get the doors blown off Tuesday, yes, I'll be concerned. Even though Loudoun is missing one of their best players, Azad Liadi, who went to Saginaw Valley, played for AFC Ann Arbor, got called up to DC United for one game just to fill in, but that's a great honor for him. Even without him, who's serving a 2-game red card suspension, I'm worried because if they get their doors blown off Tuesday, they're going to lose that focus that's got them where they are right now. They're going to be shaken. And
distractions are not what the team needs right now.
No, they need to pull it together somehow and figure it out, which is hard. I know we're sitting here in the studio, not in the field, not in the locker room with them, in film sessions.
Yeah.
After the game, I know they all looked tired. It looked very strange to see how the players were reacting after the game was over.
I noticed that too.
It's not about, losing a game. They looked like in a fog almost, and they were making uncharacteristic mistakes and unable to make up for them, which in a way I guess is kind of falling back down to the medium. So if they play a tough, courageous game, maybe lose 2-1, maybe even win 2-1 or something, maybe do whatever they do Tuesday, Loudoun, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be better than Tulsa because they'll be at home. It'll be a home match as opposed to away. But even still, Loudoun, while they have a bad record, they're not necessarily terrible. They can create something in there. They just can't do much outside of that. So you're going to have to kind of rely on the team to find it within and kind of go back to the whole attacking pattern of we get the ball, we hold it, we press the wings, we get the ball from the outside back into the middle. You didn't really see much of that this game against Tulsa. You saw the ball get out wide, and then you saw people take shots. It's where I'm on the wing, it is shots for me. It's not a pass, it's a shot. And I missed. So, oops. And then people will just have that same mindset. And as a result, they just kind of got dug into a hole. So we're hoping for tomorrow, and especially against Loudoun, that they rediscover that wing play to get the ball into the box and maybe try to create some chaos there.
I want to make sure that we talk about the women because they had a match that was really exciting to watch, and they frankly got to the draw in the very last moments.
Yeah, the women got their first goal of the season due to some MAC action. Allie Fredericks of Eastern Michigan got a cross in there, and Ellie Poole from Toledo University tapped it home. One thing you will hear us mention a bit more with the women, as since they are not professional, they're getting players from colleges to come and play over the summer, kind of like the old men's team. So you'll hear more references to school people in the area. But they played really well. They dominated really well. Kalamazoo got a goal back. Late, they had a chance to win in the 93rd minute. DCFC had a nice free kick come in. Looked like someone headed the ball down and tapped it in. I could not hear the refs calling it. Some people were saying it was called for an offside call, which if it was offside, didn't look like it was offside. But it also looked like a foul. Looked like one of the girls for DCFC jumped up, kind of got her arm kind of near the back of someone's head and neck and kind of bumped her out of the way, which if a ref sees, he's obligated to call, which stinks. But overall, DCFC's women played very well. Very, very, very well, which they need to do because the perennial odds-on favorite to win, Flint City AFC, who's used to be Corktown AFC, they smoked Ann Arbor. They straight up smoked Ann Arbor 4-2, and it honestly wasn't even that close. And of course, you have Midwest United, who just produce professional level players all the time. So you got to start getting points when you can if you want to try to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and for sure, we're going to continue to mention the women as we go forward because I think it's just a good story to talk about. And they do have designs on going pro.
Definitely. They're probably going to be pro a lot sooner than Detroit's men's team will. And honestly, if you support the club, you should support the women as well, because they are also players who are playing in front of you. And if you cheer for City, City is both men and women.
Yeah, for sure. Now, there is some drama in the world, in the Detroit City FC world, in the Twitterverse, and in the real world. But the reality is that you can read about all of it on Twitter. And quite honestly, and this is very personal, but my senior 16-year-old dog had a very tough weekend. And it's a very tough time right now, personally, for me. And so I did not have the time to do the kind of first-party reporting that I want to do on this kind of story. I don't think, Fletcher, it's our role to kind of like talk about the tweets when the tweets are all out there for you to read. And, you know, the story is quickly evolving. You know, we did reach out to USL, reaching out to maybe get an interview on some of these things, talk about what's happening. But I don't believe in second-party reporting. And between that and my personal life, where all of this broke at a time where I love the game, but I love my 16-year-old dog a lot more. And so that had to be my priority this weekend. I won't apologize for it, but that's part of why we're not talking about it.
Yeah, it's not my place to talk about it. Like Jared said, if you really want to see it, it's on Twitter. You can know probably what to search already if you haven't seen it. You can have your own opinions you formed yourself, but it's really not for us to speak about because we're really more focused on what the team does on the field, more so than everything that happens off of it.
For sure. And it's a situation where if we have the opportunity to have an owner in, something like that, we'll talk about it. But I'm not in a position. I'm not a member of NGS. I'm not a part of the ownership. To be clear, this is a good opportunity to present. We are not paid for by the club. We are not part of the club whatsoever. We receive nothing other than our press passes from the club.
Yeah, because if we did, I would get yelled at a lot for a lot of the beans I have. So.
And just as a reminder, that Louisville City FC game is at 7:30 on Tuesday. With that, I'm Jared Stays. Thank you so much for listening.
And I'm Fletcher Sharpe.
Take care of each other. Remember that you are somebody, and I'll see you around Detroit.